Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there, welcome back.
Well, as we had said on Patreon, we were doing a survey and we found that people want more of the hidden history in general. It almost was 2-1 over the next closest subject matter. And we love that. I mean, because again, I think that's really, it all boils down to what really has happened here on planet Earth and what really is going on. This was our last video we did, global megalithic, structures and our hidden past when Earth was taken over. Yeah, some will say, oh, that's preposterous. You know, no such things as aliens, no such things as an alien invasion. It's all just blue beam and Hollywood. Well, you know, let's look to the past, and we pointed out these depictions over at Nazca. They have all these different depictions of natural things, and then you got a little astronaut guy here, looks kind of like a gray, sort of, and these strange trapezoids, and it's like the trapezoids are right next to the gray. They look a lot like ships. They really, really look a lot like ships to me. And so I couldn't help but think of this. This was the Nuremberg 1561 UFO war. What are you talking about, UFO war? This, if you haven't seen it, this depiction here, this wood cutting, it's famous, and it shows what they were trying to depict that they saw up in the sky, and it was a battle of aerial ships. And, you know, again, this, for this time, 1561, was somewhat, I'll just say somewhat unusual. If you went back another 3, 4, 5,000 years, it was probably commonplace. But at this point in time, the dark system had taken over. And isn't that interesting? Look at this shape. Look at this shape, this trapezoidal feature, and look at what they have on the other side of the world here in South America, these trapezoids. You know, one has another protrusion on the back, the other one doesn't. Very curious that they have it next to some sort of human-like, I just got to call it alien figure, because it does look alien to me. And then you see the same sort of shape depicted in 1561, where people are staring up into the sky and they're watching what looks to be an aerial battle taking place. We kid you not. Many people have talked about it. Many videos out there on it. Isn't it coincidental that when we look to Star Wars, this is the shape of the ships of the Galactic Empire? Kid you not. Is that just a coincidence? As you see the dreadnought and you see different classifications of ships, but all the warships are the same shape. In fact, you know, if you look to a lot of information of a channeled variety, you'll find that these are reptilian ships. Absolutely, reptilian ships. So in 1561, you know, this is such a famous thing. You can buy prints depicting it and put it up in a frame. We've talked about it numerous times. There was this battle with one of these gigantic motherships literally in the sky above Nuremberg, Germany.
You know, I mean, looking at it, and some of you have sent me photos of ships in the sky, and sometimes you can feel the energy to it, and sometimes it doesn't feel too good, and sometimes it does feel good. So I think it's really important to pay attention to your body if you are looking in the sky, because I think there are a lot of these ships. I think they use the clouds to cloak, and they observe. Apparently this time they were doing more than observing. And you look at the cylindrical objects and they have these little round balls out of them, and to me, I believe those are like drones. There's several drones, possibly weapons. But the one thing that sticks out at me the most is the sun. And because somebody had to draw a face on the sun, and the sun overseeing this and watching this and watching what's going on, and has me really curious how much communication with the sun is going on. Is that another ship? What is going on with the sun, and why the face? And to me, the sun, it is source itself. That's what my experience has been. It is source itself. So is the source observing, what is going on with other entities. So it has a really curious story to tell. And, I could probably just sit here and stare at it for hours. Would be a lot of fun just to channel the whole experience. That would take quite a lot of energy. But I think it's really kind of interesting.
Yeah, a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away is really, I think what they're doing is they're trying to tell us our story to a degree. It's a disclosure. You don't have to believe or disbelieve it. It's out there, so they've kind of told you. And yeah, we are absolutely behind enemy lines, so to speak. There can be different factions. There are many different groups out there that don't necessarily belong to the Draconian Empire or the Galactic Federation. And sometimes, yeah, just like pirates on the sea, you can encounter some that might want to try to take over an area or do a raid. There could be all sorts of things going on out there because life is abundant. So, yeah, this is just amazing, really, this retelling of what happened as the sun rose April 14th, 1561, over the German city of Nuremberg. Interesting, Nuremberg trials, right? The residents saw what they described as some kind of aerial battle taking place in its glare, complete with erratic dance of orbs, crosses, cylinders, and the appearance of a large and mysterious black arrow-shaped object, all followed by a crash landing somewhere beyond the city limits. Later that month, local artist Hans Glasser produced a broadsheet pictured above, offering a woodcut engraving of the scene and detailed description of what was witnessed. The text reads, "In the morning of April 14th, 1561, daybreak between 4 and 5 a.m., a dreadful apparition occurred on the sun." That's really early. Isn't that? Wait a minute. Let's just think about that. I gotta wonder. Do you think daybreak would have usually have happened at that time? Between 4 and 5 a.m. where Germany is in the spring? I don't know. Maybe somebody knows that area more than me. But even that seems just a wee bit early. But anyway. So a dreadful apparition occurred on the sun. This was seen in Nuremberg, in the city, before the gates, and in the country by many men and women. At first there appeared in the middle of the sun 2 blood-red semicircular arcs, just like the moon in its last quarter. And in the sun, above and below on both sides, the color was blood. And there stood a round ball of partly dull, partly black ferrous color. Likewise, there stood on both sides as a torus about the sun, such blood-red ones and other balls in large number, about 3 in line and 4 in a square, and some alone. In between those globes there was visible a few blood-red crosses, between which there were blood-red strips, becoming thicker to the rear, and in the front malleable like the rods of reed grass, which were intermingled among them, 2 big rods, one on the right, the other on the left, and within the small and big rods there were 3, also 4 and more globes. These all started to fight amongst themselves, so the globes which were first in the sun flew out to the ones standing on both sides. Thereafter, the globes standing outside the sun in the small and large rods flew into the sun. Besides, the globes flew back and forth amongst themselves and fought vehemently with each other for over an hour. And when the conflict in and again out of the sun was most intense, they became fatigued to such an extent that they all, as I said above, fell from the sun down upon the earth. as if they all burned, and then they wasted away on the earth with immense smoke. After all this, there was something like a black sphere, very long and thick-sided. The shaft pointed to the east, the point pointed to the west. Whatever such signs mean, God alone knows. Although we have seen shortly after, one after another, many kinds of signs on the heaven which were sent to us by the Almighty God to bring us to repentance, we still are, unfortunately, so ungrateful that we despise such high signs and miracles of God, or we speak of them with ridicule and discard them to the wind in order that God may send us a frightening punishment on account of our ungratefulness. After all, the God-fearing will by no means discard these signs, but will take it to heart as a warning of their merciful Father in heaven, will mend their lives and faithfully beg God that he may avert his wrath, including the well-deserved punishment on us, so that we may temporarily here and perpetually there live as his children, for it may God grant us his help. Amen. By Hans Glascher, letter painter of Nuremberg. So, yeah, absolutely. This shows you the fear that they are in of God, and looking at what could very well be an extraterrestrial battle, or it doesn't even have to be extraterrestrial. There are societies, there are advanced beings on the planet that live under the oceans and inside the earth too. So, of course, ultimately, all these have sources on other star systems. But, viewing it as if it's God and using that general term God, because, again, if you go back to the Bible, the original Elohim just means mighty ones, powerful ones, or those that judge humanity. It doesn't mean the creator of this universe.
I know. I mean, reading this and my experience with Source, this is not Source. It's more of a, like they said, an apparition. It's something that showed up. It's a fake. It's a false, but it's very big, and it has a lot of power, and it has the power to make people very, very afraid of it, and make people do whatever it tells them to do because they think it is the all-powerful. But this is not. No, this is more of something that wants to take charge and take control and have things done the way that they want them done. To control humanity, I think, is, after someone has collected all the money and all the gold and all the riches in the world, what else is there to collect? Well, control. I mean, that's the other most important thing of this whole story. So I think that's what this story is. It's something to scare the bejesus out of them so that they do whatever they think they're supposed to do, or whatever the writings tell them to do. Source is one of pure love, of perfect love, of it's one of experience and having experience and learning experiences. It's not something that's going to come and threaten you and scare you like that.
No, these people, and when you see the way he's wording it, as if they're deserving of any punishment, this is exactly an abusive spouse that breaks bones and sends his wife to the hospital. This is what it is. It's an abusive relationship. We could call it gaslighting. We could call it narcissistic abuse. This is what it is. As you see, up here, this almost looks like it's trying to represent Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh. This is the Hague in Holland. There were other sightings within 100 years of aerial battles and plagues being poured down upon the land in not too far off. This is 1630. It looks like chemtrails up in the sky. Yeah, and then people get sick and then people die. And also other depictions of great battles of ships. Now, this looks silly because these are ships that go out in the ocean. But when we talk about this, they're probably really looking at ships that don't look like this in the depictions. So, you had 1630, you had 1561. This over here is talking about the air battle of Stralsund, and this is in 1665. So there was some sort of war still ongoing. And again, this could have been a variety of different sources. It could be infighting amongst the control group that's in place, because again, these beings that have been controlling the planet for several thousand years, they are all about ego and greed, and they are not above quarreling with each other and even perhaps destroying each other in battle. Certainly not above trying to control the others as well. So infighting amongst those of the dark matrix could be. Outside sources, some random group trying to see if it'd be easy to wrest some control over at least a portion of the planet. Perhaps, this is just another enigma out there. And again, there's millions of these enigmas. Millions. There are countless sightings of what we would call, third kind, fourth kind, fifth kind. There's a lot of interactions. There's a lot of human abductions. I personally believe that tens of millions get abducted on an annual basis. I really think that it's that high a number. And here in April 1665, 6 fishermen witnessed an unexplained celestial phenomenon, an aerial battle in the skies above the Baltic Sea near Stralsund. This again is not too far away. And this, in modern terms, this is absolutely a historic UFO sighting. So they heard warships, and they had a thunderous air battle going on. Ghostly figures. When at dusk, a flat round shape like a plate, appears above St. Nicholas Church, they flee. The following day, they find that they are all trembling all over and complaining of pain. Yes, were they also blasted by radiation, because this is another common phenomenon. Cindy, Zeke, who has passed on, and Sassy were all blasted by radiation over in the Hattiesburg area right next to a military base, when all of a sudden a big triangle was right next to us when we're pulling our trailer looking for a campsite. And it left us both very ill. We were blasted in New Mexico as well. And we know people that have succumbed to these blasts. Thankfully, we've been able to regain our health, and it's just through detoxing and our energy work and our Qigong. But, this is very, very powerful. The power of myths. Well, it's hard for these people to describe what they're seeing. They're not going to use the words drones. They, again, talk about a disc, but really what you're talking about is a flying saucer. And again, is this all coincidental? Do you know how many depictions there are of these battles in the Hindu holy books when the takeover actually came? Again, we quote that famous battle in which we are told 1.4 billion people died in one battle. And if you look at when that battle happened, it was at a time when they tell us there was far less than 1 billion people on the planet. There was probably only 100 million people on the planet. That's what history tells us. Well, the annals of that battle, which is recorded again in the Mahabharata, says 1.4 billion people died. 1.4 billion people died. And it also talks about weaponry that dims the sun. So bright, it's like 10,000 suns. Yeah, we are still under the control of very, very advanced beings. But this is the Bronze Age now. So what does that mean? Well, it simply means we get the picture. At least some of us do.
Mm-hmm. It also means that some of the technology that they're using is no longer able to hold itself hidden. People are seeing more and more and more, these so-called anomalies. But I mean, how many anomalies do you have to have before you say, okay, this isn't an anomaly. It's just something that's kind of gone awry. And how do you explain how it has gone awry to people when they haven't been exposed to any of this information? And just one video or one little bit of information is not going to help people completely wake up to the Bronze Age. But as time goes on and they see more and more and more of these anomalies here and there, or technology that's not working properly any longer, they start to wake up and ask questions. And that's what we need. We need more people asking questions.
You wonder why Klaus Schwab dresses up like Darth Vader. Well, Darth Vader is literally German for Dark Father. That's really what it means. He was originally Anakin. Anakim is a biblical classification of giants. And of course, that comes from the Anunnaki, which literally could be translated as those that come from the sky, Skywalker. It's all right there. Now, this pup knows this is not a good being. I remember this. There's something in my DNA memory. I'm going to be behind the couch. Call me if you need me.
Yeah, cutie. He's a smart one.
We look forward to your comments. Much love, family. Source bless and namaste.
Namaste.